Welcome back, baseball fans. We have another elimination video. We're going to be eliminating the California Angels. What you're looking at here is last year's stats. Yes, they won 7 games last year. 7-21, worst team in baseball. Had the first overall pick in the draft. We talked about that in their playoff series against Detroit, the moves they made. But I just want to look at what happened last year. You're going to see some names from the timeline of the 80s, because we mixed timelines last year, and those guys are all gone. But if you look at the Mendoza line, you see most of the team is beneath it. And the guys who are still around was Jim Spencer, batted third this year. He hit 182 with 3 RBI last year. Jay Johnstone hit a $177. Alomar at 165. He had 1 RBI last year. Bubba Morton was traded to the Dodgers, and Jim Fregosi was traded to the Brewers in the big trade that brought Sutton to the Dodgers and Ryan and Singer to the Angels. Fregosi ended up playing shortstop for the Brewers, and Mario Wills ends up playing shortstop for the Angels. At the top of this, though, Alex Johnson had a big year last year, so that's 2 big years in a row. That's about it for that .214 hitting offense, which was just historically awful, unbelievably awful performance. You got to go well out of your way to .214. So maybe the balance, they got really lucky hitting this past year. We'll look at those stats momentarily, and then maybe that is the difference. Pitching, Ken Tatum, there you see him, top ERA on the team, 5 saves, was the All-Star in 10 in the 3rd innings. There's nobody else to send to the All-Star game. You have to send one player. The rest of the pitching staff did pretty much nothing at all. Even Messersmith got traded in the offseason with a 3-6 record. So now let's fade into what just happened this year in 2021. They were 14 under 500 this year. They finished 6 over 500 in the number 2 seed of the American League. Plus 20 games. Let's start at the top with Alex Johnson. 69 hits. I think that might have led the league. 5 homer, 29 RBI. Brilliant year for him. Baylor, that was a nice acquisition from the Orioles. They sent Hoyt in a 3-team trade. Wilhelm went to Portland. Portland sent somebody to the Orioles, and Baylor ended up on the Angels. Baylor played for the Orioles, the A's, and the Angels in the 70s, but he wasn't with the Angels this early. Now he is. Jim Spencer, there he is. Improved to a 280, same card. Now he's hitting 287 and batting third, helping the team to the American League Division Series. Alomar had a nice year with 7 stolen bases. Mario Wills acquired in the trade, 17 stolen bases. Larry Heisel was sitting at home watching the league last year. That 69 card, just nobody took it. Don't know why. It was taken this past year. 260, 10 homers, and 32 RBI. And then as far as pitching, look at the top again of the pitching. There's Ken Tatum. I think it's 3 or 4 years in a row. He's an all-star. 8 saves, 1 earned run in 25 innings, 3 walks, 21 strikeouts. Plus now he's got a buddy in the bullpen, Dave LaRoche. There you see your Cy Young winner, Bill Singer, though he was 8-1 going into that series. He lost 2 tough games to Joe Coleman, but still finishes with a .234 ERA in 8 complete games. Clyde Wright, heartbreaking finish. He had a good year though. His stats aren't quite as sharp as his card. And look at Nolan Ryan. What a middling year. He started 5-0, finished 6-5, and that's not a misprint, folks. In 91 innings, he walked 91, a .485 ERA, a .179 WHIP. And it's time to look at your California Angels here. Let's take a look at the pack and see which 69 cards are going. Was this just a flash in the pan, or are they going to stay as good? I mean, it's 20 game swings. In the last 3 years, they were plus 20, minus 20, and plus 20 again. So, I mean, it's a really interesting sort of situation. We'll get rid of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So these are the 869 guys that are going to be going away. Ooh, there's some big guys here. There's some important guys here, I should say. Oh my. Well, this could get ugly. There's some important guys there that are going to be going away. So who's going to be providing the foundation moving forward? Looks like they got a 7-5 split of hitters and pitchers. Well, they got some catchers. Paul Casanova and Phil Roof. That's good, I guess. Yeah. Spencer's coming back. Baylor and Mickey Rivers platooned a lot last year. Him against righties, him against lefties. I think Baylor probably gets the full-time gig next year. And then there's Alex Johnson. Brilliant year in 70, so he'll come back one more time and see if he can have 3 brilliant years in a row. It's a pretty nice stretch of baseball he's been putting in. 329 card. He's been hitting 342 last year and 361 this year. So I guess he's due for a clunker than Alomar. Now the pitching. There's Ryan and Wright. There's his walks. It's only 157 in 284 innings. And I know only 157, but he's really performed much worse. Clyde Wright, just a heck of a nice card, but didn't get the wins and losses you'd like, mostly because of the team he was on. And the rest of the bullpen, once you take out Tatum, is still pretty damn good. LaRoche could be your closer if you don't get Tatum back. Fisher, Garrett. Yeah, I'm not worried about that pitching at all, really. I know Singer and Tatum have to be addressed, and they will be. The offense, they need to use this off season. If they want to get back to this point, they got to find a banger somewhere in the draft to help this offense so they're more consistent. So let's go take a look and see what they do with their 69 guys. Okay, let's take a peek at these 69 guys, and we're going to start with Larry Heisel, who played for the Phillies, and yet the Phillies, for some reason, did not claim him, put him on their team, which would have been a nice thing for them to do in this era. You see him with the Twins hat on. So here's what happens. 69, he does pretty good, really good. 4th in Rookie of the Year voting. Don't know why his card was ignored, but the Angels finally picked it up. Then he has a couple bad years, and he disappears in 72. But here's the good news. He reemerges in 1973 with the Twins. The Angels have the rights to him. Twins would love to have him too, really. But for now, that 73 year, we just said the Twins need a big bat. Larry Heisel could be the big bat they need, and he's already in-house. So I think he's a keeper. Of course, the Twins are going to call. We'll see how that happens. But we're going to put in the notes column that 73 is the year for Larry Heisel. Next up, Jay Johnstone. Another player who was with the Phillies. 66 to 85. And believe it or not, for the 69 Angels, where he started his career, all in the late 60s, he would lead the team in hitting at 270. Now, unfortunately, gosh, this is a real shame. Yeah, he really doesn't get it going until 1974, and this is really a shame because this is a year out of the timeline. It's a year out of the timeline, so we cannot get his successful career started with Philadelphia quite yet. That's 5 years in. We're only looking at 70 to 73. We're really just looking at, 70 and 71. Now, 71, that's kind of a nice year there. Actually, 70's not bad either. So 70 or 71, you get him into the league. And by keeping him in that league with one of those years, once that card's up, boom, and you're into this Philly territory where he's just tearing it up. So the bridge between 69 and his Philly run is either the 70 year with the Angels or the 71 year. That's how you apply that in the carryover league. And then you can skip these 2 lousy years here. So he's a keeper, but again, he might be a trade as well. I'm also going to put in the notes that the year you want, 71. It's better than the other year. So it's good to put notes in here when you know it's the only option you have, but it kind of confines your strategy in the draft. Like, what if you have 2 other 73 guys, and that's the only time they're good? Well, you can't have all 3. You can only have 2 guys from one season. So you have to wait or move them to another team. All right, next up is Mike Shannon, his swan song. For some reason, the Cardinals decided, we didn't want him anymore. So yeah, Shannon was with them this whole career. And in his 68 World Series team, he was outstanding. 7th in MVP voting. In 69, pretty similar kind of year. Batting average falls off slightly. Power dims a little bit. What the Cardinals did was they moved Joe Torre to full-time third base. And so they had no reason for Shannon to have 2 third basemen on the team. Didn't make a whole lot of sense. They both are right-handed. So he just sat there, and the Angels said, well, we need guys. We're not that good. And they picked up Shannon. And you saw him participate in that divisional series. But what happens next is at age 30, he only plays 55 games. He can qualify for waivers if he plays for the Cardinals with a 70. And going on waivers is better than retiring the guy because he could still look for work. If he brings defense or a platoon, he might find a job. Let's take a look at the Cardinal roster and see if they made his card for the reprint by going to superds.tripod.com/SOM rosters. We want to see if there's a card for Mike Shannon. It should be in 1970. You'll notice that they go with Crosby and Torre at third, with Maxwell at short and Javier at second. So they may have made it. They should have made an extra player card for him. They do. So an extra player card exists, which means that he qualifies for waivers. That's good news. All right, next up, we have Pete Ward, acquired in a trade in the offseason. This was part of the Hoyt Wilhelm trade. The Angels had Wilhelm. He ended up on Portland. Portland sent Pete Ward back. Also, Don Baylor and Andy Edgeburn were part of that trade with the Orioles. Corner guy in 69. What was neat about this card is that he could play first, third, and the outfield. A left-handed batter with power and on base. 359 on base percentage in 69. In 70, he's still kind of close, but the plate appearances aren't there for the New York Yankees. Do they make his card? Let's check that. Let's go to the New York Yankees from 1970 and see if there's a Pete Ward card. Infielder or outfielder, I guess. Don't see it. Not enough plate appearances. Let's look at the extra players for the American League. Cumberland, Hanson, Lytle, Waslewski. No Pete Ward unless he's down here in the nameless cards. So unfortunately for Pete, he must retire. That's the end of the line. Well, he went out with a bang with the Angels. All right, next up, we got some big names coming up here. And we're going to start with Maury Wills, acquired in the trade that moved Fregosi. Now, the Angels were smart to move Fregosi when they did, as he had a career year, but then he starts to fade. So they replaced Fregosi at short with Maury Wills, who they got from the Dodgers. Maury actually moves around as well during this era. A Dodger, a Pirate, but check it out. In 1969, he's playing for the expansion Montreal Expos until he goes back to the Dodgers. And then he finishes there. So in 70 and 71, look at the 71 season. MVP votes, 281. So they're going to keep him, Maury Wills. I mean, shortstops, are so hard to find, and they want that trade to pay dividends more than just this past season. They want that to continue to reap the rewards. All right, we are finally saying goodbye to the 1969 Bill Singer card, and what a great card it has been. One of my favorite cards during this era. He would be on the mound for the Dodgers in Game 7 of the World Series 2 years ago and lost. He's, and you see 20 and 12, 234, and that's the ERA he just produced, 234 ERA. He matched up exactly. So the Angels have his card. They have to pick one of these years. 3 of the years with the Dodgers, 1 of the years with the Angels, and that's going to be the one. 315 innings. 315 and 2/3 with a 69 card. Skip 3 years. 4-year carryover league. Boom. You pick up where you left off. 4 more years with a guy with 315 and 2/3 innings. Now, he's still a 20-game winner. His ERA's worse, though. And the whip is not as good. And you're going to have to deal with that. So you're going to get Bill Singer again. He's just not going to be quite as lights out as he's been. But that's fine. And frankly, the way Ryan pitched, Singer's still probably the top option, with Clyde Wright in the 2, and I'd put Ryan at 3. Which brings us to who was at 4, which is Jim McLaughlin. Jim McLaughlin. 65 to 73 with the Angels. There's Jim. And 69. His record wasn't good. He pitched on 3 days rest with a .22 whip. In 1970, he's on that Reds team that went to the World Series, lost to the Orioles. Interesting. He could return to the Reds if the Angels let him go. There's no reason to not keep this guy. I mean, he goes on rotation there. His whip's better in 71, not on the rotation. The Reds might come calling for him. So he's a keeper. But I'm also going to put the notion that he might be traded. You got 5 keepers so far. And you can only keep 4. So that's good for the Angels. That means they have options. And lastly, Ken Tatum. He's not done either, folks. My goodness, this was so great to have this card. That's the card, the rookie card of Tatum. Played 4 years with it. $136 with a $104, 4th in Rookie of the Year, 29th in MVP voting. Now, I know he doesn't repeat. He doesn't repeat that kind of year. But in 1970, he comes darn close, really. Same amount of innings, similar whip. But after that, he starts to lose his effectiveness. So you'll bring him back for 1 more year, at least 70, to have that effective closer. But maybe it's time to start thinking of a long-term plan at closer. And dare we say, do we trade him? Because they did. They sent him to Boston. Just curious to see what they sent him to Boston for, I wonder. Let's look at the transaction. Or maybe they just waived him outright. Oh, interesting trade. Traded to the Red Sox with Doug Griffin and Jarvis Tatum for Tony Conigliaro, Ray Jarvis, and Jerry Moses. Huh. Interesting trade. Well, and then he's traded from the Red Sox with Reggie Smith, Bernie Carbo, and Rick Wise. Well, he was put in some pretty interesting and important trades. So, seems like maybe trading is the option again. You see, the Angels are going to be Trader Joe's in the offseason. They have 6 legitimate keepers on their team, and they can only keep 4 guys. So that's good. That's great for this team. Obviously, Singer. You want Singer. He's got a connection to the Angels. I probably want to keep Maury Wells, unless there's a shortstop I don't know about coming up in the Angels system. Johnstone and Heisel kind of pay dividends. It's going to be interesting. They got some decisions to make here. These are all potential trades. Heisel doesn't have a California connection. Johnstone's connection moves away from the Angels. Tatum only has 1 more effective year left. McLaughlin's on the Reds. So there's all sorts of movement implied. They might actually acquire other keepers that have an Angel connection. But anyway, this is going to be a fun off season for the Angels, figuring out how to build on a team that they kind of were put together in a similar way that the LA Dodgers and the New York Mets were put together, with strong starting pitching and bullpen. And if they can't find any bashers or any stud hitters, maybe at least you can steal some bases, bunt, hit and run, kind of manufacture some runs. They're not nearly as good as the Mets or Dodgers, but at least they're building a team in a similar way. That's it tonight for the Eliminating California video. Thanks for checking it out. We'll see you next time.